5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglash for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Let's dig in and let's have some fun. First of all,
Gene, did you know Geico is now offering an extra 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies?
That's great.
That's 15% on top of what Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? John Stamos to knit you a scarf?
I'll finish, Gene. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's enough of that. I like John Stamos because I think he's Greek.
Give.
My kids are Greek.
Stitch work is impeccable.
It's just a double fleck pattern with a reverse garter stitch. No big deal.
Is your hair this soft?
Softer.
Geico. Save an extra 15% when you switch by October 7th.
That's actually a pretty good offer. You know, I'm thinking maybe I will switch to Geico. What do you know? Why not, right? And now I'm on Periscope. I got that up and running. So let's get over to the PDFs, right? PDFs, bing, like that. Whoops. Okay, big box retailers post strong sales amid the pandemic. What do you expect? You shut down all the rest of the retailers. The little retailers all got shut down, are going out of business. I don't know who lobbies for these guys, but boy, they did great. Lowe's announced a 30% increase. Home Depot, 23%. More than second quarter, anyway. Increased more than, I don't know what their fiscal is. Wayfair reported earlier that its revenue was 80% up year over year, So I don't know if they count as a retailer. I guess they do. But we're not going to, Total Retailer says, yeah, retail's not dead. Yeah, okay, that's great. Netflix is testing a function called Shuffle that automatically chooses programming for users, which is a kind of like what we always had with television, except we had a schedule ahead of time. I don't know if this will work. I'm very skeptical about what it might come up with based on what we watch, which is a pretty wide variety of things, depending on whether my wife has control or I do. She likes mystery, espionage, adventure stuff, and I like rom-coms. And we're both under the dad thing or the family thing. I thought this was a great article. We're going to go fast here. Aviation Gin, according to J.P. Castlin, which I got to give this author credit. Man, this is great. So Aviation Gin just got bought by Diageo, I guess. And the author reaches back to Voltaire's Candide, which was published in 1759. I'm going to read that book because I haven't, and it sounds good. But Candide is influenced by Leibnizian optimism. Now, for those of you who didn't take a lot of philosophy in college, if you just got to 101, you probably didn't hear much of Leibniz. But he was a guy who said, basically, since God is real, and since God could evaluate hypothetical universes, then this universe is the best possible that could have been created. And I would say that's an attractive position, especially, if you come from a creationist or God authoring or intelligent design perspective. If they're that smart to create all this, they probably are smart enough to run alternative scenarios. And so Candide's professor explains to him, Professor Pangloss, that all things are for the best because of the infallibility of God and created for the best end. So the nose is formed for spectacles, and therefore we wear spectacles. Now, the author, JP, says, well, that's just silly. If we design spectacles to sit on the nose. But it is kind of handy that the nose is there like it is, If you had a pig nose or some other kind of snout, you wouldn't be able, the glasses wouldn't be able to really get up there. You'd have to have really tall glasses, or if you had no snout at all, like aliens are portrayed often, they would slide right down. And so, though JP offers it as obvious that glasses were designed for the nose, not the nose designed for glasses, causality is not that simple. You don't know. The fact is you don't know. Leibniz could be right. And God could have seen into the future that we would need glasses to do this show. And I did a little mini show on glasses yesterday on LinkedIn. You can see it over there on LinkedIn. I did a post on how to build your glasses for your video streaming. And God might have seen forward into the future to know that we'd need glasses and built the nose to accommodate that. Not all noses are like that. So anyway, JP falls into his own fallacy of oversimplification. But he says, now people are touting aviation gin as the great example of everything, and it's not repeatable. And I think that that's clearly true. He says the real kicker is trying to figure out cause and effect. For all A's, doing A will result in B. That's what you're trying to find out. And what I liked about this article was that that's exactly right. That's what we do in direct marketing, and especially in direct mail, is we go, okay, we did A and B, and C happened. And then we say, let's form a hypothesis. Let's isolate the difference between A and B. Maybe we did, mailed one piece one time and another piece another time, but we noticed that one did dramatically different. And we try to figure out what the differences were. Maybe it was the season. Maybe it was the audience segmentation. Maybe it was the cover. I've seen 40% lift from a cover change and nothing else in a whole catalog. 40%. 40% better response rate, sales, etc. Sales per book. Over 600,000 pieces. 300,000 of each. Not trivial. The uncertainty factor is almost nothing. That's what we do. And with careful planning and a clear hypothesis, it's possible to test it. I had to fire the creative director to test it, which I did. And then the new creative director, when the artist came in and said that will ugly up the catalog, the new creative director said, your job is to make it as unugly as possible. Your job is not to decide if the test makes sense. Brilliant. Anyway, this is what we can do. This is the only thing that really makes sense. Otherwise, JP is totally right. Even if aviation were to launch its winning strategy today, the results would inevitably turn out differently. That's why I did consulting for something like 7 safety companies, and in each case, creative consulting. In each case, they all wanted A, and I told them no. What's different about you is this. This is what you should emphasize. This is your best strength. Don't go after somebody else. Don't copy anything else. Strategists do well to do the same. Instead of optimistically trying to copy that which inherently cannot be copied, they should instead focus on the practical and unique context of their own brand. Absolutely perfect conclusion, even though I think you got it wrong on Leibniz. And maybe you have an MA or better in philosophy. I do. Have a nice day. Okay, this was a great article. Oh my goodness. Why the personalization hype cycle is over. Targeted, relevant marketing performs better. Everybody says so. Not necessarily. I wouldn't say so. Because I've actually done enough of it. Millions and millions and millions of catalogs to know. But, who's the author? Andrew. Andrew points out deeper efforts yield declining returns. Advertisers seeking to maximize effectiveness should balance their investment in data-driven targeting, which he means micro-segmentation, with greater focus on creativity and storytelling. This is basically the conclusion of his article, which goes down and concludes. But as segments get more targeted, it becomes harder to find enough targets for each deeply personalized ad. What's more, costs increase as returns diminish. It's harder to target micro. It's harder to get your hands on that data. You have to pay more for the data. Sometimes 4 or 5 times more. Sometimes more. Okay, now that doesn't necessarily hurt if you get 5 times the return, which you probably don't. But here's a bigger problem. Targeted ads means marketers need to generate more creative and more copy. Oftentimes it costs more to reach these highly specialized niche groups. Right. And there's only so many ways to say tastes great, less filling. You know, you can say it differently to a wide array of micro groups, but they'll pick up on it because they'll see your other ads, and it may not make any sense. You're much better with one strong offer, as we pointed out in the Lovesac case study. But the largest advertisers will see more success if they leave that up to the ad duopoly of Google and Facebook. Over-personalization also hurts consumers' opinions of a brand. Many are starting to find personalized ads creepy, as this guy Andrew gets followed around by Hawaiian shirt ads because he bought one online 3 years ago. Or something you haven't searched yet but talked to a friend about while your phone was listening. I talked to my daughter yesterday about that, and she said, absolutely, that happens to me. Okay, plus new regulations. Privacy regulations make it increasingly difficult. You know how to beat GDPR in Europe? Mail. And as a Canadian explained to me, a Canadian printer a couple weeks ago, the governments won't prohibit mail targeting because they make money on the postage. They would much rather you mailed than that you used targeted digital, where they make nothing. Think about it. They're not going to stop the mail. They don't in Canada, they don't in Europe, they don't in the UK, and they don't in America. Okay, you can target with mail because it's a basically public domain address, physical address. Okay, rediscovering the impact of creative. Here's where Andrew and I part company. It's not just creative. If you mean by creatively testing, then it's great. If you mean just storytelling, it's not necessarily storytelling, unless you have a really wide definition of storytelling. But what he really means is you need powerful ads like Super Bowl commercials, delay for as long as possible the fact that they're even ads. Not necessarily right. Read David Ogilvy's Confession of an Ad Man. He says, if you're selling kidney remedies, say, do you suffer from kidney pain? You know, do you suffer from incontinence? As I pointed out, as I offered as a creative suggestion, when Cardizem was going generic, and we ran one of the most successful case studies. It's in Dick Hodges' book on Cardizem, the anti-angina medicine. I said, Cardizem users, read this ad or drop dead. I think it would have pulled like crazy, but they didn't go with it. Anyway, going forward, we can expect advertisers stepping back from relying solely on data and rebalancing their efforts with the heart of this industry, creativity. You know what? Data isn't bad. It's the misapplication to think that you ever segment, you reduce circulation, and that's the key to profitability. And I heard a direct mail consulting firm consultant say you can't both grow sales and profits. Totally wrong. Okay, so now let's get to the end story, which I'm already going long, but it's a Friday, so you got nothing better to do. Here's an article from Print Industry World, piworld.com. Patrick Henry, what a great name. Anyway, if data-driven now sounds a bit quaint because running to the numbers has become second nature, it is not second nature. Almost nobody really wants the accountability, as I talked about yesterday. I split the thing so that it could be running live on LinkedIn. Go check it out. Accountability. Nobody wants it. Marketers don't want it. So if you think you're there, let's work together. But anyway, Patrick points out digitally controlled presses mastered the art of data management as it applies to the type of manufacturing they do. You know what? That stuff was pioneered in 1978 with R.R. Donnelly's Electronic Bindery and Farm Journal magazine. And you know what? It's basically the same today, pretty much. Okay? They did it all on inserters in those days, Electronic Bindery, but now we do it with run of the presses, so we can do it on shorter runs. Is it more efficient? Probably not. Does it work any better? Probably not. Okay, so don't tell me about how great that is. But what's the big problem? And here he gets it right. Patrick gets it right. Miles behind is the successful marketing from the direct mail producers. What's missing is putting the finished piece is in the hands of exactly the right recipients, partly because it's really hard. That's what the last article said. Personalization hype gets really complicated. It isn't as simple as if A, then B. No, as JP pointed out. If printing is commoditized, data management is something you can mark up. So, okay, printers, let's do this something that's almost impossible. Let's figure out which customers to send to which offer, or vice versa. Okay, I've been doing this 25 years. Let's just dig in. If a provider can design a campaign, manipulate its data, print and mail the deliverables, and report the results, that's a competitive edge over the guy who says, yeah, I can print it. True, but it ain't so simple. And you risk the client if you get it wrong. And you know what? Mostly, it's wrong. I'll go head to head with what you're doing. Happy to do it. I'll guarantee success. I'll turn that around in 90 days. AI, ROI, 90 days guaranteed. You can watch my webinar that was last week. Okay, we can all print, but not everybody can handle data. And, then they talk about the benefits of having the analysts within our four walls. You know what the disadvantage is? They're within your four walls. They don't have the perspective of 25 years of thousands and thousands of models being put in the mail. You can't hire an analyst like that because they're out on their own working like I do. Because we love to wear Hawaiian shirts and don't want to come to your office wherever it is in Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska. Okay. How many can you attract to Omaha, Nebraska? And if you're not good at it, it makes a lot of sense to outsource. Okay, this guy's in Newton, Connecticut, which is a lot nicer. I think probably more people live in Newton than in Omaha. If you don't have the skill set, there's a lot to learn. That's an understatement beyond comprehension. Okay, so let's just go down here, and it talks about you need to have postal regs in place. You need to understand, I would say you need to understand Facebook digital interfaces. I would say you need to understand the big data providers and how you can model their data. Okay, the path to greater granularity law, and see, greater granularity is not the answer. Go see JP's article. No, that was about aviation gin. I knew I'd get these guys mixed up. Anyway, go see. This is Andrew. No, this is Patrick Henry. Andrew's article. Anyway, greater granularity means lower runs, more difficult runs. Figuring out the best, Fish says, data analytics consists of figuring out the best people to mail on an ROI basis and send it through direct mail. Everybody has data. The secret sauce is gleaning useful insights from it. And most can't. Because most data people don't have experience in putting it in the mail. They don't have that sinking feeling when you mail it and you wait for the results. They aren't creative. Period. They don't know how to make hundreds of variables that are different and give you different perspectives. They don't think like that. They think, how do we get this data that we have to tell the story? Or they pile up more and more and more and more data and not realizing that the more you have, the more spurious correlations you have. That's something to think about. Data analysts don't think like that. But most of all, they haven't been in the circulation business, picking individual mailing lists, and they haven't laid out creative. Or you can get somebody who's done it all and succeeded at all of them. We're just partnering with a printer, and I think it's going to go great because they understand production, they understand postal regs, they understand the big data providers, but they don't have a crazy modeler like I do. He's right here with me. And so we're going to work together, and I think more printers should be looking for a way to partner. And I'm not saying that's the only printer we should be working with. So if you're a printer and you start to realize that this article is basically right, in the sense that you need to help your clients master their own data. Now, I told this to Quad in 1995, and we did start working together, and we had some amazing successes. Amazing successes. With Plow and Hearth, who'd just been on the cover. Their data guy had just been on the cover of Catalog Success magazine. And I called him up and I asked him what he thought of the presentation that I wasn't allowed to be part of because all I could do was create the template for the salespeople. And he said, I couldn't believe a printer would know that much about what we do. And it was all built just from the zip counts, not even from any big data or web data or browser data or any of that stuff. You don't have a choice. Mastery of data management will be the prerequisite to staying competitive in direct mail. I agree. It's in my webinar. I'll put a link in the descriptions or in a comment about my 2-minute summary of what the CEO is looking for and why you can deliver it. Let's work together. Let's partner, because this is the way it works. Direct mail is still a fantastic option. Direct mail, not only that, direct mail is the most cutting-edge marketing you can do today. And you need to talk to your digital people. I talked to a printer in Dallas, and he said, well, I'm a little bit small. I'm too small for 100,000 piece runs or something. I said, you know what? There's .coms. There's probably 100 .coms within 50 miles of your place that need this. The .coms need it more than the mailers. Go get them. They need to be in the mail. I'm John Miglosh. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. Bye-bye.